Here at Helmuth Ford, we are a small town dealership with no hassle and no pressure.
Delta Fire and Rescue presents the Delta Haunted House at 109 North Center Street in Delta. Admission is just $10 per person. The Delta Haunted House is open each Friday and Saturday throughout October and on Halloween night from 8 to 10 p.m. Food and drinks will be available for purchase, and now accepting cash and most major credit cards. It's the Delta Fire and Rescue Delta Haunted House, Fridays and Saturdays in October and on Halloween night. The City of Sigourney will be accepting bids for the removal of snow. All sealed bids must be received by 4 p.m. on Monday, November 4th at the City Clerk's office at 100 North Main in Sigourney. Interested parties will be responsible for snow and ice removal from the sidewalks listed on the screen, as well as all the steps into the Memorial Hall. The snow and ice must be removed in a timely manner and according to the City Code of Ordinances. The successful bidder will be responsible to purchase ice melt and provide any equipment used. You may review a copy of the contract by contacting the City Clerk at City Hall.
Mayhem Haunted House at 13011 120th Avenue, Ottumwa. Invite you to come find out why Mayhem Haunted House has been voted the best haunted house in Iowa multiple times. Open for the Halloween season, Friday and Saturday through November 2nd. Cost is $15. Get ready to scream at Mayhem Haunted House in Ottumwa.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and never wrong, Nick Bull.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. Another episode here, episode 154. Man, wasn't that long ago. We were doing our first episode, right, right. Partner? But yeah, a long time ago. But time flies when you're having fun. I'm glad you're here with us for another exciting edition. Welcome to our little corner of the world where we like to talk wrestling, bring people in and talk wrestling. And we got a guest today. We'll get to that in a second. Before we go on, I am your host, Never Wrong, Nick Bull. So glad you could join us. I'd be remiss if I did not mention my tag team partner and co-champ of the For Frequency's Sake Network. He is the one. He is the only. He is the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how you doing?
Man, I am doing good. Another good wrestling weekend and a little on the tired side, but that's always.
That happens when you get old.
Yeah.
You get tired.
Very much so.
I think we can both attest to that. No, another week in the books. Of course, a lot of wrestling going on all over the place. Whether it's in the independent scene or it's the big boys, there's plenty of stuff going on. But we're glad you found us here at the Card Subject to Change. Before we go any further, let's let you know we're powered by Lopez Pizza. We're built by Durham Remodeling. We're colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and we're protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. CZ, I want you to bring in our guest, introduce him.
Absolutely.
Let's tell the fans what we're going to talk about today.
We are going to conquer another episode with a gentleman who considers himself more than a conqueror, hence the name of the episode today. He's been on the show once before in a short form when we were in Waterloo for Absolute Pro Wrestling.
Yep.
Welcome into the studio, more than a conqueror, Alvin Falcone. Alvin, how are you today, my friend?
I'm wonderful, fellas. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us, man. We really appreciate it.
Of course.
Like CZ said, we've had you on before for a very short time, but we got a little more time with you here today. So I'm going to treat you like a first-time guest because, I mean, you've been on before, but you're a first-time guest here in the studio. I'm going to ask you the same question I ask all of our other first-time guests. Why professional wrestling? What got you hooked? What's kept you in it? Why? What was it?
Whew. It's a loaded question, Nick.
I know it is.
I mean,
it's a hard one, I know.
of to keep it short form, professional wrestling has been the only constant in my life. It's been there when I left it. It's been there when I've been down and dirty with it. It's just been with me my entire life, just a constant. That's why I chose it. I feel like it's something that I personally can excel in. Not even I think, I know I can excel in it. Given my own personal background and things, I just think that professional wrestling is just such a unique sport. It's art and sport mixed together, which to me, that's the beauty of it. So yeah, that's why professional wrestling. I think what got me into it, I would say like my family, my mom, my dad. We would watch it together when I was younger, and then my interest grew as theirs faded away. And it's still kind of the same way now. I'll still talk with them about it, but they're just kind of like, okay, cool, whatever.
Right.
But that's who got me into it, why. But yeah, short form, keep it short.
Yeah, there's no wrong answer there. I just love hearing how other people got into this thing that we all love and are going to talk about here today. I think it's such a unique thing. People love it for different reasons. Right there, you said it was a constant. I love that answer. I love that answer.
Let me ask you this: what is your earliest memory, pro wrestling wise? Who do you remember first seeing? What are some of the matches you remember early on?
Oh man, I don't know if I'd be able to tell you matches specifically. It's only moments.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe my earliest recollection or earliest memory was, I want to say maybe early 2004, maybe 2005. It was a SmackDown episode. I only remember it because it was the Fist, Bring Back the Fist.
Yes.
Best SmackDown set ever. Bring Back the Fist. And it was The Undertaker making his entrance. So I just remember seeing all the smoke on the ground and the camera panning up to this behemoth of a man, I thought. And I was terrified, intrigued. Every mixed emotion you could have, I was that in one moment. And I was like, mine. This is mine. This is what I'm doing. That's my earliest memory. If I could pin down a match, maybe like a random Chavo Guerrero match.
Ooh.
On like Velocity. I think that's like my earliest match that I remember.
That's digging deep. That's a good one.
That's a deep cut. I know.
That is a deep cut.
when I was younger, I loved Chavo Guerrero. So I was always trying to find him anywhere I could. That was before YouTube and stuff, so I couldn't look him up anywhere. So it was like, okay, I guess I just see it on TV. That's the only place I'll be able to see him. So I think a random Chavo Guerrero match on Velocity is the first match I remember. Yeah, that moment going back, that moment of The Undertaker making his entrance, the music, the theatrics. Yeah, that is my first memory.
Okay, so you're talking Chavo Guerrero. I'm going to put you on the spot here. I need you to give us your best Ooh Chavo from his beginning of his entrance music.
Oh man. Okay. I'll do a little story and then I'll tell you right now, you're not going to get it out of me.
Hey, we appreciate your honesty.
I thought about it. Someone in my family was obsessed with Chavo. So we would always, whenever we saw this person in my family, we would always do the beginning of his music. I almost did it. You almost got it for me. But we would always do the beginning of it, and they would hate it. They would freak out every time we did it because we were just poking and prodding them. And we went to a live event. Did not know Chavo was going to be there. And all of a sudden you just hear I'm not doing it. You hear it, and we all just go, this person in my family is just freaking out, going nuts. And that might have fueled the fire for my early love of Chavo Guerrero, but yeah, maybe in person I'll give it to you.
Okay.
Oh, fair enough.
I'm guessing if you like Chavo, you had to dig Eddie Guerrero stuff too, right?
Of course. It took me a long time to even though they tagged together, and I mean they literally have the same name. I did not realize that they were real life family members. Mm-hmm. It took me forever to figure out. Eventually, obviously, being a child at that time, and Chavo obviously always typically being the heel, I then gravitated towards Eddie when he was a face. And then, if you think about it, Chavo was never a face until after Eddie passed. And then for that brief stint, and then he turned again. So it was I loved to hate Chavo, and then I loved to love Chavo, and then it flipped back when he turned. But yeah, Eddie, there's a lot of stuff that so many people do that are so influenced by Eddie that you don't even really notice. And it's so cool, being in those sectors of people where they're oh yeah, Eddie is my guy. So yeah, it's very cool. I loved Eddie. I wish, obviously, we can all say it, I wish that he was still here. We got a couple more years out of him to see what he could have done a little bit more, because I think he could have done so much with those people of, if he passed in, what was it, 06, 07?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah, 06, I think.
Even up until the 2010s, so many people that you could have gotten so much mileage out of him, and he would have ridden it till the wheels fell off anyway. So yeah, R.I.P. Eddie.
We're chatting with Alvin Falcone here on the Card Subject to Change podcast by the fan, for the fan. Of course, we're powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. You were talking about Chavo Guerrero and Eddie Guerrero there. I just want to throw a name out because I wish Eddie Guerrero was around for this one reason today, and that's Dominic Mysterio. Could you imagine how much he could add maybe to Dominic's character if Eddie Guerrero was still here?
Yeah,
it would be off the charts.
It's nuts, because then you could literally go back to 2005 and do the whole custody thing again, but for a 27-year-old man
in a Shark Tank eating chicken tenders, right?
right. You don't realize that it takes a turn where you do not realize how much you have until it's gone. Mm-hmm. Just a generational treasure Eddie Guerrero was, and just how, thinking about it, Dominic and Ray and everything that's been involved in that, you throw Eddie in that, wow. The segments.
Oh, and I would have it. I would fantasy book it where, where Eddie and Dom, their father son, they're loving it, but Eddie's trying to get Dom's girl. You know, I would do something like that, and just it'd be gold. It'd be so good.
Of course.